I am so pleased with the way this quilt is turning out. I wanted some real good texture in the light areas, and so I used the computerized quilting machine to put a beautiful feather design in there that's very even, and you can see how gorgeous that looks. Then, just out of curiosity really, I decided I would do a very intricate pattern in the middle of this beautiful purple star. And of course I have to use Coral Crush color, which is a neon orangey thread, to really show it off. Since this is the center of the quilt, I decided I wanted to be very dynamic in there and do some thread painting around this middle star. And I want to show you what I did on that. And we're going to do a feather in this purple area right here, and that's where we're going to start. We'll bring our machine over. First, I have to do just an ordinary feather, and I'm going to make it just slightly curved through this area. So you can see I just went about a ½ inch on the side of that middle seam in two different areas. I didn't want it to be completely straight, but not very curvy. We're doing just our ordinary feather, which is like a teardrop, and then straight down, and we'll come back up doing our double stem and back down. So we're placing this plain feather in here first. Then we're going to come up in that feather and put feathers inside of it. So round and follow that feather. It's a rhythm that you get into when you're doing feathers, really. And you really have to practice them a little bit, so don't be discouraged. See how I follow that feather back down? Now, the middle feather is going to have feathers coming up and going back, and I swing around and reverse the direction of the feather. Walk around like that on the feather, and then reverse and come down. Follow that feather over, reverse and come down. Follow the top of it over, reverse and come down. Okay, and then around this, and I can go right over the top of that feather without any problem. I want some long and short movement with my machine, and I can come back and fill this in more, which is what I'm going to do because I want to come out with swirls when I come back. As you can see, this isn't as dense as what I have had. Now I'm going to come out, go right out into the area, come back and cross and make a ribbon, and then do some short, just very straight movements. Come out again into this area. We want to fill in all of these areas as we're doing them. And this one. And fill this in very dense through this area, back and forth. Now this time when I go out, I've come to this purple square, and so I'm going to put this on automatic. I was in the manual mode, and I'm going to do a pinwheel here. Just curve around, curve back out. It was such a dark purple, and I really wanted that contrast with that glorious neon thread. So now I'll come back here and finish this thread painting technique through here. Just swing out, put my swirls in. And just because you've got a swirl at the bottom of it doesn't mean that you couldn't put a little bit of a swirl down here. We're really going to fill that in. Remember that you can go back over this as many times as you want until you're satisfied with how well you filled it in. Here we go. Okay, now in this this purple area here, I'm going to do a different feather. This one I call a stacked feather, and I'm going to start at the top. Well, this is because it's coming out from the star, this would be the top, this would be the bottom. So I'm going to start at the top of this feather, and again I will do just a slight curve. Here we go. Down to there, and then I will start with a teardrop, and then I'll come over like this, trace that back, and then come down again. So come out with a teardrop shape, kind of, trace it back, and come out again. Teardrop shape, trace it back, and come out again. This time, I'm going to come down to do my double stem. I'll cut my thread and get that out of the way. And again, begin with a teardrop, and then come up, trace that back, and come down. Now you could slow your machine down a lot to make sure that you really trace that back exactly. Okay? Be very careful as you trace it back. Like that, and then we can put one right here. And so there's our feather in that area. Now, in this area, this other half of the log cabin area that's on the darker side, we are going to put a feather meandering pattern. And when I do that feather meandering, I'm securing my thread right now, I'm going to think of half circles, or I call them crescents, and swirls. So it's kind of like a crescent swirl. And then of course I have to put just a little feather in here somewhere if it's going to be a feather meandering, but it doesn't have to be like a feather like this one is. You can even have swirls on one side of it, and it's just again a ribbon that you go around, and just really have fun with this. But you keep everything curvy, nice and curvy, lots of swirls, throw in a feather now and again, and mostly those crescent shapes. Now when we get over to our plain dark block, I just did a pinwheel in there and just incorporated it right into the other quilting that I was doing. So I don't even have to stop the machine. Once you figure out what you're doing on it, and that usually occurs to me as I'm working on it. Now in this little area, I didn't want to leave it blank. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a continuous curve like this, and a half circle like this, half circle, half circle. Then I'm going to come back inside of that, and I'm going to do half circle, half circle, half circle, half circle. In other words, I'm filling in these little areas. I do a pinwheel in the middle of that to reverse my direction. And you know, I think I'm going to just quickly draw that out for you on this pad. Okay, what I have is I have a curve on a flat area like this. So basically what I'm doing is C's like this, or almost U's like that, and then I do a pinwheel in the middle to reverse the direction, and then come back like this. And that fills it in with that contrasting thread. It's just dynamic. It's a wonderful thing to do as an outline technique around anything that you want to stand out. It's really pretty. Okay, then we have a smaller border, a maroon border here, and we have a larger outer border. And I'm going to show you what I did in those borders. This one is a half of a feather. So we're going to start right here and do that half a feather. Like that. And I think I'll go into manual. Here we go. Here we go. I just use everything available on the machines. I love sewing and just regulating the stitch myself. I love the stitch regulator, especially when I'm doing smaller areas. And I love the computerized machine. So I'm just for everything that is there for us to help us quilt better and faster. So that was just a half a feather that I completed in there. And you can see right here, I changed directions in here by doing that little heart design. So the feathers here go this way and these feathers go this way. Now this design is almost like a footprint. So it kind of goes like this, and it's in threes. So I start over here, and I'll come from this side like this, and I'll go 1, 2, 3, and then I'll come out from this side and go this direction. 1, 2, 3, and the last one. 1, 2, 3, and that will complete my border design. So this quilt is finished, and I'm just so excited for you to see the shot of the entire quilt.